The Kel'thari Ascendancy had ruled the Orion trade corridor for 11,000 years. In that time, they had catalogued 400 sentient species. They had conquered 91 of them, and they had never, not once, apologized for it. Why would they? Conquest was simply efficiency. The weak yielded resources to the strong. It was the oldest law in the galaxy, older than language, older than starlight itself. So when High Marshal Vextalon received the report that a small, unremarkable species called humans had established a mining colony on the fringe world of Corvel 9, he did not send diplomats. He sent the Third Ascendant Fleet. "They are soft," his aide, New York Rasa, said, reading from the intelligence brief. "No natural weapons. No armor plating. Their technology is barely a century past atomic fission. Population of the colony, 2,611. Vextalon allowed himself something like amusement. "Then this will be a formality. Order the fleet to descend. We will take the colony intact. I want their engineers alive. Waste is inefficient." 12 warships broke atmosphere over Corvel 9 like a slow, deliberate exhale of judgment. Their shadows swallowed the colony's wheat fields whole. Inside the colony's command dome, a woman named Sarah Okafor watched the ships descend on a cracked monitor, her coffee going cold in her hand. "That's not a trade delegation," said Miguel, the colony's young systems tech, his voice tight. "No," Sarah agreed quietly. "It isn't." She keyed the colony-wide comm, her voice, steady and unhurried, rolled out over the fields, the dormitories, the half-built schoolhouse. "This is Okafor. Everyone to shelter positions. Children first. Move like we drilled." There was no panic. That was the first thing that would have surprised the Kel'thari, had they been listening closely enough to notice. 2,611 people moved like water finding its channel, calm, practiced, purposeful. Vextalon's flagship broadcast its ultimatum in flawless, synthesized human English. "Colony of Corvel 9. You are within Kel'thari sovereign territory. Surrender your settlement and your technology. Resistance will be met with total correction." Sarah stood in the command dome, arms crossed, and looked up at the ships filling her sky. "Tell your marshal," she said, "that we don't surrender crops we planted with our own hands." Vextalon, listening from orbit, tilted his head at the translation. "Crops," he repeated to New York Rasa. "How quaint. Begin the correction." What happened next was not, by any galactic definition, a battle. The Kel'thari landed their first correction battalion, 300 soldiers in gleaming void-forged armor, expecting to walk through a farming settlement like wind through wheat. They found the colony dark, empty, silent. Then the ground itself seemed to breathe. Corvel 9's soil was iron-rich, unstable, riddled with old mining tunnels the humans had spent 2 years mapping. Tunnels the Kel'thari sensors had dismissed as geological noise, non-threatening. Sarah's people hadn't built weapons. They'd built something the Kel'thari had never accounted for. Knowledge of their own world, deeper than any invader's scanner could reach. Charges the colonists had rigged for controlled mining collapse. Not to kill but to seal, folded the tunnel network in on itself precisely where the correction battalion stood. No one died. That mattered to Sarah more than almost anything. But 300 soldiers found themselves buried to the waist in shifting rock, weapons useless, pride in ruins, waiting to be dug out by the very people they'd come to conquer. Vextalon watched the feed in silence. "They didn't kill them," New York Rasa said, disbelief coloring her voice. "They could have, and they didn't." 3 hours later, Sarah walked out alone, unarmed, to the edge of the crater where Kel'thari soldiers sat trapped and humiliated in the dirt. She carried a medical kit and a canteen of water. A young Kel'thari soldier, his armor cracked, stared up at her with something between hatred and confusion. "Why?" he rasped in broken human. "Do you help us? We came to take everything from you." Sarah crouched down and offered him water. "Because you're still someone's kid," she said simply. "And because cruelty isn't a strategy. It's just a failure to imagine another way." She moved down the line, soldier by soldier, tending wounds that weren't fatal, offering water to invaders who'd meant to enslave her people that very morning. The footage reached Vextalen's flagship within the hour. He watched it twice, then a third time. "Marshal," New York Rasa said carefully. "Orders." Vextalen did not answer immediately. 11,000 years of doctrine had taught him that mercy was weakness, that compassion was a resource the strong could not afford. And yet here was a species with no armor, no war fleet, no ancient empire, choosing, in the very hour of their vulnerability, to be gentle with the people who'd come to destroy them. It was not weakness. He understood that now, with a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's climate controls. It was a kind of strength his entire civilization had never possessed the courage to try. "Recall the correction battalion," he said quietly. "All of them, and New York Rasa, draft a formal withdrawal. Not a retreat, a withdrawal. Marshal, the Ascendancy will ask why we—" "Tell them," Vextalen said, still watching Sarah Okafor kneel in the dirt beside soldiers who'd meant her harm, "that we tried to conquer a farm and found a civilization instead." The Third Ascendant Fleet lifted off Corvel 9 without a single shot fired, without a single life claimed. Word of what happened there spread through the trade corridor in whispers, then in reports, then in formal inquiries from empires that had never once questioned their right to conquer. They had expected human weakness. Instead they found something the galaxy had no ancient word for. A strength that didn't need to dominate to prove itself. A people who could win a war without ever choosing to fight one the way their enemies expected. 2,611 humans, on a fringe mining world nobody had thought worth remembering, had just taught an 11,000-year-old empire something it had never learned. That mercy, freely given in the moment of victory, was the most devastating weapon in the universe. And for the first time the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human. If the story moved you, subscribe for more human stories from the stars.